then, well, we will make a seminar, more or less 1, 2, or we wanted also to say to you that this is not a master class, so please ask anything when you don't understand or you want to know anything else. So this is FOSTER, is a European project under the 7th framework program. So we are going to finish it in July. This is the quick factors of the project. We will start in 2014. So so as you see here, it's 24 months, but in reality there are 30 months because we asked for an extension. So we will finish at the end of July. So we are 13 partners. It seems too many, but part of the project, as I will show you, the aim is to foster open science in the European research area, and especially to the young people, to the future researchers. And most of them are universities, and including CSIC, which is the national Spanish National Research Council, and Minho, the university where Pedro comes from, is the coordinator of the project. So as you can see here, the general objectives are especially to the young researchers, or to train into these practical issues around open science and promote and disseminate the policies of the European Commission, which is in favor of open access. This is our portal. Well, it's part of the contents there. And well, I'm sorry because I forgot to bring the flyers of the project, but I will send to the library and to Estefania so you can see more information there. But even though if you go to the website, you can see anything we have done. That is just a summary. So part of the aims of the project was create also training material. So we have these resources about open science, anything or almost anything about open science, and we have also have these kind of seminars or workshops around all Europe. This is a map where all the sites where we have been, we or part of the organizers of the event. So we have these online courses. So if you go there, if you want to follow one of them, so it's about 3 hours. Some of them are moderated, some of them are self-learning. I think that we have now 5. One is about open science in Europe, I mean how to comply with the European Commission policies, how to create a data management plan, we will see in the second part of this seminar. And well, more or less this is the description of the website. You can visit it and see what is happening there. So this is the presentation, and we will start. I will start, and then Pedro comes at the end talking about open air. And I don't know if everybody's going to stay here for the second part of the seminar, of the workshop. Is going to be here, all of you? No, because we plan at the second part of this seminar, we have a more practical session about how to create a data management plan. So, but we didn't know exactly if everybody wanted to stay for the whole morning. So I will finish mentioning what the European Commission asked for the fundees. But if you stay in the second part, so we will explain further about this. So more or less, we put also some interesting videos. If you want, especially for the library, if they want to use it, they are in English, but it doesn't matter. They are very. Some of them they are even funny, but I will show you afterwards. So this is an example of a kind of seminars the library or the department can run. We are going to stay here more than 20 minutes. This is a seminar which is going to be this month in Gothenburg. And as you can see here, or can you read, it's a 20 minutes workshop having coffee in the cafeteria of the university talking about open access. So we don't need 4 hours, but as an example that you, with your colleagues or in the library or with your members of the faculty in general. So this is an example. So I don't know if, I know that library is aware of the meaning of open access. I don't know if you are familiar with the concept, so we'll start mentioning some definitions. This is the first time the concept of open access appears in the world. It's in the Budapest Open Access Initiative, which is nearly 16 years old. And if you read it, I'm not going to read it, but anyway, you have it online, on the web. So there are 2 concepts. The first one is here, is that the fact that is anything, the scholarly output should be freely available. That means gratis. But the second concept is this one. It's not only, I mean, open access doesn't mean only gratis. I mean, I can access and I can download the archives or the papers or the reports. But if I download the paper just to read it, and I can't reuse it, so it's not fair, because I can't distribute with my in my library, or I can put in the repository. So there are 2 concepts: access and reuse. And this reuse depends on permissions to reuse this material. And this is related to the copyright. As you know, in papers, when Elsevier sends you copyright agreement, sign please here, and you transfer all the rights. Remember, before signing anything, read the agreement, okay? So, this is a basic, simple definition, which is Peter Subes is one of the fathers of the Budapest Open Access Initiative, and it's also an advocate of open access. And it's simple. Open access is digital. It's online, of course. We need an internet connection, free of charge, I mean, it's gratis, and free of most copyright and licensing restrictions. If you transfer your rights to the publisher, for instance, if you write a paper, remember, you cannot do anything with it unless you agree to be able to reuse the paper. There in the literature, there are some examples of people that have written the paper, and then they ask for a copy, and the publisher say, yes, if you want a copy, you have to pay 30 euros or $30 or 40 or whatever, and it's the owner also. So be careful with that, and the change is to be aware of that, of your rights. Okay. This is one of the videos I want. I don't know what, but no, it's the sound or.
Yeah, we're looking for speakers now. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
What is it? What is the sound issue?
I don't know. Oh, sorry. Well, I will try to put the video. If not, I will go. Oh yeah. Well, this is a very brief explanation on the concept of open access and.
Scholarly research needs readers, and lots of them, to have an impact on the world.
Can you hear?
For centuries, academic scholarship was sequestered in abbeys, in universities, and most recently, behind publisher paywalls, limiting access and hampering the ability of scholars and scientists to share their work. Enter the open access movement. Open access supports the principle that faculty should be able to share their work freely and easily with anyone, anywhere. And that means greater visibility for research, deeper engagement with ideas, and more knowledge in our world. Sound inspiring? Many scholars agree and are taking action by creating open access policies in institutions worldwide. These policies ensure that faculty have the legal right to distribute their research as they see fit without publisher restrictions. Open access policies do not dictate where faculty should publish and never require payment to participate. Instead, policies empower scholars to make their publications freely available through institutional open access repositories, enabling access for students,
Okay. So this is one of the videos, but it was not the right one, sorry. Because this is the brief. I will try the second one.
Each year, the U.S. government spends over
Well, this is
$60 billion
the
on
deployment of the
seeking new life-saving
online.
drugs and medical treatments, exploring new sources of energy, and fostering science that will create jobs and improve the
No,
lives
this
of
is
all
not.
Americans. Even though our taxes pay
Well, this was talking about the open access policies of the institutional policies. I hope this is
Okay.
That's way.
¿Es el mismo? Sí, no.
scholarly research
Oh,
needs
sorry.
readers, and lots of them, to have an impact on the world.
Oh,
For centuries, academic scholarship was
I will make the
sequestered
video.
in abbeys and
I will try afterwards.
It's fine. It will be fine.
Creo que están cambiados los enlaces.
Frente a una página en blanco, es necesario encontrar la inspiración. Conducir mi nuevo DS.
Open access is free, immediate, online availability of research
This is the
articles
right
with
one.
full research rights. This is about, first of all, making all this content available for anyone, wherever they are in the world, to read and access and build upon, so people can do interesting things and work in new ways with the material to really make the research literature much more valuable.
The history of the model is really publishing scientific manuscripts, especially ones with complex, detailed color figures, was expensive. And so if you wanted your article distributed broadly and widely, you sent it to one of these journals, and then they would manage the review process and the communications with reviewers and revisions, and eventually something would be accepted, and they handled the typesetting and the printing and the distribution of your scientific work. And it worked. It worked great. Science progressed pretty well, and it became, a good way to distribute scientific papers. And what's changed is, really two things in essence. First is digitization. You can now do everything electronically instead of printing it. And the second is that the journals started ratcheting up the price of subscriptions to many of their journals. And so those two things came sort of to a head where it's become almost the theater of the absurd with the amount that some journals want libraries to pay to subscribe to the journal.
Research has shown that journal prices have actually outpaced inflation by over 250% over the past 30 years. There are over 15 entire academic disciplines where the average price for one journal is over $1,000 for one subscription for 1 year. Yeah, in chemistry, the average title is $4,227, in physics $3,649, and it even goes down into like agriculture is still over $1,000, and geology and botany all over $1,000. And those are just the averages. Those aren't like the way out there. There's a journal called Tetrahedron that's $40,000.
The journals aren't producing the material. The journals don't employ the people who write the papers. They don't even employ the people who review the papers. And it doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of what science is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about discovering new things and spreading that knowledge around. It's so irrational to think that these scientists like me are paid by the government to do research and to discover things and distribute that. And then, 2 years of work by 20 people is going to be compressed into a paper and then not made available to people. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so I think this problem of access to research is one that people run into all the time, but it's not one that they sort of realize. I know when I was a student, whenever I would be doing research and come across a great abstract and not have access to it, I just sort of moved on and thought, well, this is the way it is. I didn't really realize that there was a system behind this that was causing me to not have access. And I think students' educations literally depend on access to the journal literature. I mean, professors can only teach what they have access to. If you look at less wealthy countries, like low and middle income countries, they really, really struggle to get access. And, so that's a real impediment that prevents researchers in those countries from being able to contribute fully or do world-class research.
I mean, I was not, even with this lack of access, and even with my brother starting the Public Library of Science, I wasn't convinced. I didn't understand why this was a big deal. And then we had a family medical emergency, and I was up at 3 in the middle of the night in a hospital next to my wife in the hospital room, surfing the web on the crappy hospital wireless internet, and I was trying to find out information about a particular medical treatment, and I couldn't get access to the damn papers. And our doctors didn't know the answer to these particular questions, and we needed to decide about what to do with this medical treatment. And here I was, a trained scientist, with the ability to read and interpret and understand many of these papers, and I couldn't get them. And that was the moment for me. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Here's what the problem comes down to in most cases, and because in the hospital room, I bought dozens of articles. The problem is that you don't know which article is relevant until after you pay for it. The abstracts don't always make it clear what is contained in the paper. So there was no return policy, right? I couldn't buy it and then say, this is wrong, I'm giving it back. So now are you going to spend $1,200 to just find out if possibly they're relevant? I mean, if you do that every day, you're in a big hole. I'm not, some communist saying everything should be free and, I don't believe in corporations. Nobody is saying that publishing is free. What people are saying is that we need to work on models where the government that is already paying for the research and is then paying for the subscriptions and is then paying for the indirect costs for the libraries. I mean, in the end, taxpayers and the government are paying for this. So why can't we do it in a way where the knowledge is distributed broadly as opposed to the knowledge is restricted?
So there are two components of open access. The first is that articles are available for free to read so that you don't hit that paywall when you click to read the full text. But the second part of the definition that's every bit as important is that the articles come with full reuse rights so that scientists and researchers can build an entire new tier of tools on top of the research literature. And those new tools can interact with these articles, right? They can mine the articles, they can find relationships, they can find snippets of genetic code that are mentioned in multiple papers, or different phrases, or concepts that are referenced in a biology paper and a chemistry paper, that individual researchers would never be able to uncover because they can't read this many articles. So if you actually wanted to do that, you couldn't, because you'd have to negotiate individual rights with every single publisher in order to do that. In an open access world, all this information would be open on the internet for free, and people would have unrestricted rights, to do that kind of data mining.
I think the main impediment is the incredibly slow movement of scientific cultural practices. I mean, I think, scientists, despite being great explorers in terms of knowledge, are sort of very conservative in terms of changing their practices. Lots of the community says, oh yeah, I support openness, but I want a Nature paper. That sort of reliance upon, impact factor and the name of the journal does allow some journals to not respond to the community pressure towards openness. The scientific publishing model that we have now, there's no evidence that it is optimal. We need to experiment with all sorts of different scientific publishing systems. Corporations may figure that out before governments do. I'm very open to whoever is going to come up with creative solutions to these issues. I view it much more as scientists and scientific publishers are slow to change. Some of them are going to be left in the dirt because openness is clearly the future, and the creative ones are going to survive.
It's really important that graduate students, start these conversations with their research teams, their PIs, just let them know that it's something that they care about. And, there's a real benefit to researchers, to graduate students by doing this, right? Because the more people that see your work, the more people can build upon it and they'll cite you. It's not just good for the person that can read your paper, it's also good for you.
I believe that scientific knowledge spreads and increases best if there are no restrictions on access to the knowledge that has been generated in other places. I want the discovery of new scientific knowledge to happen faster, and openness helps accelerate that.
Even if for your own reasons, you need to publish in a subscription journal, there is this other option that even if you don't publish in an open access journal, that you can still make, you know, the text of the article itself freely available so that people can at least read it and get access to it.
Okay, I hope it's clear the meaning of open access. And if you have comment, question about it, it is clear, the explanation in the video. So it's gratis access, but it's also reuse. And this is part of the, I mean, it's the definition and it's part of the movement. So you will have these slides, so you can revise again whatever you want. So this is again, so because in we have run different workshops, seminars, and when you ask people is what do you understand about open access? And people say open access is publishing means publishing in open access journals or just access, I mean gratis. And it's not that, it's reuse. It's what in the video we're talking, well, one of the characters is a scientist, American scientist. Well, it was almost obvious because this this metaphor of the communism, and it's a professor there, and that's true. So we are paid normally by the government. We are civil servants, at least we. So we produce we make this. We apply for projects. We run the research, and then we write the papers. We review the papers, and then we have to sell again this product. It's no sense, at least for me. So if we don't, if we can't avoid to transfer those rights, at least keep the right to deposit in a repository. In the case of University of Minho, they have an institutional repository where you can deposit your scholarly outputs. So according to the open access movement, there are two routes to follow with this conception. One is called the green route, and the other is the gold route. The green route means that anything which is allowed to deposit in a repository, you can go there with a copy, or just if we talk about a paper, could be the PDF of the publisher, or it could be the revised version of the paper. That means after the peer review. If you are allowed, I mean, if you have permission to deposit the PDF, it's okay. But if not, use your revised version. That is when you submit the paper, you are reviewed by peers, and then you get these reviewers' comments, then you correct the paper, and this version is the author's version after the peer review. So it depends on the permissions, depends on the repository policy, you could deposit one or any other version. And the gold route is publication in open access journals. Some of them you pay for to publish in those journals, but some of them you don't need to pay for it. So this is a scheme, what I have called outputs behind paywalls, which is the classical scheme of the publishing process. Is that well, you make a research, then you submit a paper. The paper is under the copyright license, where the authors normally transfer the rights to the publisher. Then the publisher close the access, because if you are not a subscriber, you cannot access to that paper. So the libraries need to subscribe to these papers, to these journals, because if not, you don't have access, and etc., etc. So conclusion. So here we have a title. So our research, our paper are published after a long time, and then you cannot access them. This second one is the open outputs. It's the same process. I mean, it's the research is done. You write the paper, and then you submit to the journal. It doesn't matter if the journal is or not open, but if the author is allowed, have this permission or keep those rights to deposit in a repository, or use, in this case, is, Creative Commons licenses, where you state the terms of the license. You can reuse, and you can, on your websites, on your repository and subject repository or whatever, ResearchGate, but on the web freely available. So this cycle that means that you accelerate the process to reach the other colleagues. So this is more or less the open access, but now there is another concept, open science, which is beyond open access. Open access is included in open access, in open science, sorry. But we can say that in this slide, which comes from this author, is we see here open access, the two routes, the green route and the gold route. In any case, you have a copy of your output, a report or a conference proceeding or e-learning material. So, and what is said, you have a copy and you deposit, or you publish in a journal that the access is freely, and then you can reuse the material. That's fine, it's okay. But there is another concept, and Europe is going in this direction, which is called open science. Open science means from the beginning until the end, plus preservation, archiving, and sharing that data. So when we start a research, especially you, which is your research, I suppose you generate or create a lot of data. So you have the data, you have then the process of analysis the data, then maybe you write paper, and then you submit the paper, and then they have the review, all these steps in between, so they can be open from the beginning, from open source, open material, papers, or open source. The process, you can make also openly the process how you create those data. There are more collaboration between all the stakeholders and participating in the research process. So that's the. There are, of course, some definitions. So I have summarized here some of them, and the first one is the open science offers these open tools, and this makes the science more transparent. So this is at least the theory. Some people say, no, but I don't want to share from the beginning my research, because if I share my data, some of my colleagues in another country they are going to copy me. So, of course, there are fraud also in science, but we have also to trust our colleagues. But in any case, you don't have to share from the beginning. So this is, we will talk about the European policies in a brief. But in any case, anything is open is available to see, to reproduce, to make all these steps more transparent than if they stay behind these paywalls or behind any wall. So there is also this meaning, which is you can find in the Wikipedia. That means also collaboration between colleagues. And also there are some processes that are shared through the web or with lab notes. And this is the more basic one, is that by Michael Nielsen, which is one of also a good advocate of open science, which is anything that should be openly shared. So it doesn't matter data, any other output. Those are the principles. So open methodology, methods, processes, any other documents, not just papers. Open source, if you use open source, what have you done, and with which tools, if you can use open source. If not, it doesn't matter. Open data, open access to scholarly outputs, what is called open access. There is another issue, which is open peer review. There are some journals now, they are trying to make some experiments or pilots, or there are already journals established in the world. They practice the open peer review. What means open peer review? That the paper submitted to publication is open, and is open also to review by the peers. And all these comments made by the peer reviewers are on the web. So that means it's not only important, the paper, because when you publish the paper, it's already the finished product, but the steps in between, they are also important, and what the reviewers have said. So there are journals that they have already this system, and normally when you submit a paper, you say, what kind of peer review? You know, blind, double-blind peer review. That means that they mask the names of the authors or the reviewers. And there's also another world with, we are not talking about that, open educational resources. There are some campuses that have platforms for e-learning material, and they are also freely available for the students. This is another conception. So normally when I run a workshop, I like to provide a lot of maybe literature. I don't know if you are interested, but you have the reference here. But this is very interesting, and I recommend you to read this report. And it's called Open Science, 1 Term, 5 Schools. We have we can say the technological architecture involved in open science. We need infrastructure, we need tools. The other school is what's called means science is or must be accessible to any citizen. We need also another alternative impact or how to measure the science, not only by the impact factor or Scopus or whatever. There are new tools. I don't know if you are familiar with the term altmetrics, but altmetrics is not only based on classical indexes, but also with the social nets. There's the democratic school, which means science must be available to everybody. And the other is the pragmatic school, that we are all colleagues, we should participate, we should collaborate among us. Now, how we are going to integrate all these opens in the life, in the research life cycle. So this is a model of research life cycle. So we start planning our research, we implement it, depends on the disciplinary, then probably we publish what we have done, and then there is a part of discovery and impact for other colleagues. There is the preservation, and then the reuse again, and we start again the cycle. The same could be applied to the data. This is maybe it's not you are not so familiar with this cycle, but it's almost the same. You collect in this case the data, you process the data, you analyze the data, then you preserve the data, and then if you you share this data with other colleagues, they are able to reuse them. And finally, so we start again. So it's more or less the same process after the publishing process. And how integrate in this scheme? So planning, implementation, publishing, discovery, preservation, and reuse. These are some examples of reflection. So from the beginning in planning, so we have these open access resources, papers, reports, books, or data. So when we plan a research and we want to apply, I lose the mouse. Okay. When we apply for a grant, for instance, we have to know if our funder requests a kind of open access policy or sharing policy with the data. And we should consider that because if you sign this grant agreement, you have to comply, you have to follow the guidelines of your funder. During the publishing, we have the repositories, the journals, data journals. We will see that data can be also published. So then we have the impact, this altmetrics, or for the discovery, we have servers, we have repositories, we have subject repositories, we have aggregators, and we have, for the preservation, the own repositories are preserve this material, and they're also called digital curation centers, which they are in charge of this preservation. And then, of course, the reuse. And the reuse depends on the licenses, ethics, of course, because we will see that some material cannot be reused because privacy or security or because involve a kind of ethics or codes of conduct. And now we will start with Europe and versus open access, which is part of the aims of this FOSTER project. And we'll start from the beginning. Well, you are not European, but in Europe, most of the most big projects come from Europe, so that means a lot of money. So Europe started a pilot in the 7th research frame program, which is this. It finished, well, we are already under this program, but in any case, it started in 2008. And in 2006, the Commission made this public consultation between a lot of stakeholders in Europe, authors, funders, and managers of projects. And they published this report, and the conclusion was, so Europe must be in the open access direction. So in this frame program, so it was a pilot for the papers published under, if you get a grant, any publication from this grant, so from this project, should be or had to be in open access. So that was in the 7th frame program. So the guidelines were this. So it was a pilot, so it was not mandatory for any disciplines, just some of them. And it was the two routes, the green and the gold. The green is the route through the repositories, and the gold if you publish in an open access journals. The deposit should be as soon as possible, but if you couldn't because your journal, in case the journal established an embargo after publication, the maximum embargo was 6 months for science and technology and medicine, and 12 for humanities and science, and social science, sorry. It was created, the open air portal that Pedro will talk afterwards. And this is, I don't know if it's, because probably you don't know, but this is the first part is in the portal in 2010, and this is in 2016. So it's the gray comes through. That means that something has progress or and light. This is the CENODO. So it's the repository the European Commission has created. In case you don't have an institutional repository, you can go to CENODO and deposit your publications, your data, or any other output from the project. And now we will see, what's happening now. So this is the Horizon 2020. I suppose you have already heard about H2020, and it covers from, so it's already 2 years, and until 2020. These are the two documents which establish the guidelines for the future, published in 2012, this and the following. And in summary, they establish the guidelines for the Horizon 2020 frame program. So the pilot for publications is not anymore a pilot, it's a mandate. So any publications you publish under the project, you have to deposit in a repository. If you don't have, you can use CENODO, and if you want to deposit in a subject repository, you have also allowed to do it. as soon as possible, and the embargo are the same as in the previous program. One of the documents also is a recommendation for the states under the, yeah?
Sorry, could you say the number of the COM document?
This?
Yeah. This is COM document. The number of the document, COM document.
401.
400, thank you.
Yeah, but you will have the slides if you
Okay.
don't know. Okay, this is a summary. We will see afterwards. So what is happening now? I mean the grant agreement, and this is the second document is recommendations for the member states to implement open access policies at national level. But if we compare the Horizon 2020 with the previous research framework, what is happening now? So there are new guidelines because the policy has changed. They have also in the grant agreement, which is a document signed by all the partners, they have new terms for to comply with this policy. And there is another pilot now. The pilot now are for the data. So this is the change in the grant agreement. This is the Article 29.2. This is for the publications and said, so deposit the publication as soon as possible. You don't need to publish in an open access journal. It doesn't matter where you publish. As the video said, we don't restrict where you want to publish. If you want to publish in a journal that is restricted to subscribers, trying to at least have permission to deposit a copy in a repository. And many journals have now they say open access policies, and they say you are allowed to deposit the final version of the authors in a repository. This is for the publications. And, well, this is summary, what to deposit. It could be the PDF, it's if you have permission or if you have paid for it, or you can deposit the final version of the article. Where? In those repositories I already mentioned. When to deposit, remember, as soon as possible, always, but if you can't because the journal said no, in case of articles, so you have these embargo periods. For medicine, technology, and science, there depends on, social sciences and humanities are 12 months, but in the three previous are 6. If you pay for publishing in a open access journals, so it must be immediately. So this is for the data. As I said, this is a pilot. Yeah.
Just a question. I mean, because I mean, the GEO-C program is part of the Horizon 2020, right? And in particular, let's take an example that here Manuel published a paper in Elsevier journal or Taylor and Francis journal. So the next step basically is just to publish this preprint in an institutional repository, right? This is mandatory now in Horizon 2020.
Yeah, in Horizon 2020.
The preprint is not the correct version for the compliance with the Horizon 2020 open access policy. Is the postprint or the final manuscript. But what you need to do is, when the paper is accepted, you just deposit, and can be the preprint, you just deposit in the repository, compliant with OpenAir, and we have the metadata of that publication, okay, at least. And then, because the deposit of a publication is different from the open access to the publication, okay? You deposit, and we are aware that that publication exists, and then you need to provide the open access to the publication in 6 months or 12 months, depending on the embargo. And now the embargo period, the Commission is accepting embargoes a little bit longer in this first stage of the policy, but not too longer. We know that some publishers want to have 24 months or things like that. So at least you can, in some of the publications you are referring, at least you can deposit the post print, so the version of the author, not the final version with the editor's layout. You can deposit
Without the editor format,
yes,
that's
yes,
all
yes.
right. It's journal format.
You can deposit, and that version is accepted for the compliance with the Horizon 2020 policy. But it's very important to state that deposit a publication or providing the metadata to the publication is different from ensured open access. If we put here steps in the compliance, the final step is ensure open access, and the previous one is deposit the publication. The best approach is when the publication is acceptable for publication, you just immediately you deposit the publication in your institutional repository. Can be the preprint and with the metadata, and then you upload when you want to provide the open access to the publication. You just create, or you have your author version. You can deposit that version.
This is something that we have to define in the context of the GEO-C, right? We have 3 different institutions, and people, the students in Lisbon maybe will publish papers and deposit the papers into the university repository there in Portugal. The same happens with the student in Germany, and we as well. So just to have this coordination, right? Just a common policy in order to deposit this.
I think it's a good.
I mean, if you are under the umbrella of Europe, yes. It doesn't matter if you are in Portugal, in Germany, or in Spain. You are, because I will say.
But it's a good guidance.
No, I mean,
if they define internally that they will all deposit the post-print version, and with that they avoid problems and to think in other issues. Yeah. And if the repositories whole are compliant with OpenAIRE, your institutional repository is already compliant with OpenAIRE. So the publications will be gathered in the infrastructure. No matter if the publications come from Lisbon repository or from. So at least for University Nova de Lisboa and your university, you have repository compliant. I don't know. I don't remember. Munster. Okay. I don't know if it's.
So it is also guidelines for repositories also in general. So deposit as soon as possible the post-print of the authors, and then if you have the final PDF, you can deposit as well. But it's once you enter in the free available cycle, so it's even the impact of your research is higher. So let's talk about this data pilot. So it's not mandatory for all disciplines, just for the ones I'm going to show you. And it's for the Horizon 2020, and this is the article where the grantees should sign to comply with the European Commission. It's, the other one was 29.2, this is 29.3, and why this? Because Pedro will talk afterwards about this infrastructure in Europe. So we have publications, we have data, and what the aim is to link publications with data. The data, not all your data are published, so you can also deposit or share those data, because you are researchers, you know that you generate a lot of data, but not all of data are published. So this is the areas of the participating in the pilot. I think you are with them, no? They have smart cities.
It's international training networks. It's joint PhD program as part of the Marie Curie law.
I mean, if you get a grant from Marie Curie, I mean, just in your research life. So now you have a European project.
This is the project that is under Marie Curie. It's not under.
Yeah, but under, Marie Curie is under the same,
Hermes.
Yeah, but this is FP7.
Hermes is...
We don't have now a research project under the Horizon 2020.
Yes.
We are not lucky.
So we have also our Spanish law in the National Spanish Law about Science and Innovation and Technology. We have an article, the 37 article that you know, and we should also deposit any publication from national projects should be included in a institutional repository. So I have already this mandate, but I'm aware that not everybody knows that, and the compliance is not ready measured. So well, this is the areas under the pilot. But if you are in another area and you want to comply with this policy, you can do it. So it's open for any other disciplines. This is the article in the grant agreement. So it says that in this case, you have to comply with this, the data, including metadata. It's not only the file. You need to specify some metadata to say what you have done, what is the description of the data, how you have processed them, anything that any other colleague that could be access to those data could understand those what you have done, and to be, if they want to reproduce the data, be able to do it. So this is a summary, and this is what we will talk in the second part. So if you apply for a project, it's not mandatory to present this data management plan. But if you present it, well, we recommend to present it, no, Pedro?
So, yeah.
It's not mandatory. I mean, it's not in the terms where you present the proposal. You don't have to, but it's a
good practice to put under the impact area of the proposal. It's a good practice to put the data management plan summary.
This is something that we have to report to.
Yeah.
We don't know
yeah.
how to. I mean, this data management plan. I mean, it is expected that we will produce a lot of data, not only publications, but data. Maybe some of them will create models, and this model generate outputs data, right? This is relevant for us. I mean, as an output of the thesis, right? So we have to deposit this output data somewhere. And follow
somewhere we will show you where.
And maybe aligned to some plan. So we don't know how
it's a thing that we can discuss in the second part. I think it's a good example, because the exercise to plan the plan is very important for you. It's difficult. We did the same for Open Air. Open Air 2020 is a Horizon 2020 project, and so it's obliged to present a plan in the first 6 months of the project. So, and we have data, but we don't generate too much data. So we manage data. So we manage metadata, and we manage some publications and some data also in the infrastructure, but we don't. So it was a really hard discussion to find what we will put in the data management plan. So I suppose we had a problem in our project to define the correct way to the data management plan. So I suppose it's the problem that all projects have to find. So to stop their daily tasks and think a little bit about the data management plan, what we want to keep, what we want to share. So it's a discussion that we can have in the second part. I think it's very useful. If we use your case, I think it's good.
So in fact, the European Commission, there is a model. Well, this is in case. Well, this is mandatory for the disciplines I put before. So, but if it's recommended to present in the proposal, but if not, it's mandatory after 6 months at the middle of the project and at the end of the project. At least there are 3 deliverables for the management plan. First, 6 months, in the middle of the project, depends on how long is the project, and at the final report. This is mandatory for those disciplines. But if you are, for instance, you can opt out to present those, not opt out to present the data management plan, but to say the results I'm generating, for instance, I want to make a patent. No, you cannot expose those results if you are preparing this kind of commercially or industrially exploration of the data. Or if there are security, national security, weapons, whatever, or confidentiality as well. Or if, for instance, if you are going to share the data and say, yes, but if I share now, my publication is trembling now. And so when you make this deliverable, you can say, I want to stay for, or I want to wait until I publish this paper, for instance, or I'm going to make a patent with this. So it's well, the European Commission, so it's not going to to follow you with an stick. So, but you have to say that. So this is the template the European Commission has in the information in the European Commission portal, and it's very simple. And simple is you have to specify a name of the data sets. This then the description and the metadata you have to use for the data set, where you want to share these data sets, and how are you going to archive and preserve during a period of time. This is our explanation. So this is, we will continue in the second part with this. So, but if everybody is going to stay here, so I will not explain now, because in the second part, and so we are, I think we are a little bit late. So this is the. Well, this is on the, you have a, I mean...
Then I mean, this means a lot, right? Because it's not only data, but the procedures to collect the data and how you transform this data and so on.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
All the methodology to...
So I put a very, very simple example. For instance, I'm registering temperature, for instance, for 10 years. And how have I registered the temperature? If anybody, for instance, citizens in different villages, so have sent me the data, so the location of the data, how I have measured, and then I want to make a model. So I have a lot of data, so the description, how I have get the data, units I have used, for instance, because not all the disciplines use, sometimes they are not agreement, or how the location of the sites, or whether all that must be in the data management plan, because any other colleague or any other person who wanted to use it can be reproduced the same thing. Well, clinical trials cannot be reproduced sometimes because it's just one case. But in this case, for instance, could be reproduced, or if you process the data, you must say what kind of processes have you applied to that analysis. And the metadata you have used to specify all this information, if you have a particular in your disciplines. Or where are you going to share those data, what kind of repository, Zenodo, you can use also for data, but if you, for instance, in your area there is a specific data or repository, data repository, you can go and deposit there. So, these are some tools that we will use in the second part. This is online tool created by the Digital Curation Center in Edinburgh, from the university, and it's very simple. You can you can register, that's all. For instance, this is my, I register of course, and then you can generate different, you see here, there's different kind of funders. In the second case is the Commission, the European Commission. For any of those, if they have templates or kind of model, so you can go register, and if you click on the particular funder, so you get the menus with different questions about what they request. This is your area, this is my area, my plan. You can also, they have also models. You can make a copy and put your data. So this is slide from the open air, and this is this part you see is the annex 1 I showed you before, with all the parts that at least the European Commission requests for the data management plan. And this is equivalent with these menus in the Digital Curation Center digital management plan. This is after you ask all these questions. There is you can export the report, and this could be this is a layout how one of those data management plans results. This is the version in Spanish. It has been translated by the Consorcio of Universities in Madrid, Madroño, and it's exactly the same, but in Spanish. So probably for you it's not very useful, but for, I don't know, for some researchers in Spain would be useful because they don't understand or they don't speak. This is, and this.
One question about this pagado, right? This is something that is mandatory as well at national level here in Spain. I mean,
this is open for
new project for Ministerio. Here, right?
No, this is created by the Madroño consortium, but it's open for everybody.
So far now, there is not this requirement in Spain in order to create this data management plan at national level. For national project?
No. No, but this is a tool if you want to use it in case you have problems writing in English.
In the open access policy of the ministry, you have like a guidance suggesting that you need to
no, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But we can imagine that they will do something similar, no?
Maybe in the future.
Yes, there are several national open access policies that already have not a mandate, but suggesting that the projects, the funded projects, create a data management plan and they deposit the data.
But anyway, so, well, my background is chemistry, right? So I'm now social sciences scientist, but not because the European Commission or the national government says that. It's very recommendable to use or to plan how are you going to manage your data before you get them. So it's like a document where you plan, because you don't know, sometimes you get results that you don't expect, or you have to change a strategy and all this. But you have at least a document where you are, what kind of results I'm going to create or generate or analyze, the processes, so it's like your plan. So it's not because the European Commission says that, but this is, if you get this project, so it's normal, but it could be a good practice so among scientists, not just because the European Commission says that you have to, after 6 months, have this kind of delivery. So this is the other side of the, not the other side, on the other side of the Atlantic. This is another tool, more or less the same like the Digital Curation Center. But the difference is, of course, this is from the University of California. Here you see the funders, they have the templates they have on the system correspond more with American funders, but they have, I don't know if there's the European. No, but there's National Institutes of Health, National Science Foundation, And see, most of them are American, but
We can check examples during the other
Exactly.
parties. It's good because the templates of some of the funders are
different.
better than the European Commission.
Well, the European Commission is just
It's
the basic.
It's a few requirements, but I think it's good because we can like use some parts of the templates to our own projects, or to guide our discussions in internal, like you want to do in your team. I think it's good if you check 3 or 4 different templates,
Yeah,
and you can like
For
use
instance,
them to
this
help.
one contains also another funders which are not from Europe, like National Science
Science
Foundation.
Foundation.
But the difference with
A welcome trust is also
international.
yes, it's a good example because it's not like so. The template is not so like for big projects. It's for like not individual grants, but almost. So it can be used for example for your case. I think it's-
I haven't checked it, but I don't know if Pagoda has, because this tool has the initial data management plan, but it has also the 2 tabs for the mid and the final project. So it's not only the one, but you have to present that after 6 months. So this is the difference. This is your area. So even if you are not American, because there are, at the beginning there is a list of universities. If you are a member of this university, check. But if not, you are allowed. It doesn't matter. You say another place. This is your turn. Anybody wants to make another comment, question about this?
Maybe regarding the process, if you are talking about publications, there is a institutional repository where you can put your papers or these documents. Regarding open data, is there any kind of institutional repository for data, or maybe we all will be working on spatial data, and those kind of repositories are some differences among all other repositories. Is it possible for us to make our project repository and then linked to some others?
Yeah. So I don't know, Lidon, you accept data sets here in the repository? Not yet.
But in the future.
So there are some repositories actually are designed for text. We can say that, because the metadata are, well, Dublin Core, I don't know if you are familiar with that, but it's like the metadata of a published paper. Title, authors, affiliation, everything. So this is not correspond, it's not equivalent for a data set, for instance. There are subject repositories, and we will show in the second part where you can find them, and there is for spatial, we search for some of them, where you can deposit. In your data management plan is what you have to specify. If you are working with, I don't know, in astronomy or in geolocalization, or how it's called. And then you have to say, there is this repository that is specific for this area, or more or less specific, and so I plan to deposit there. And if you don't find any, so that fits your research, go to CENODO, which is the European repository, and then you can deposit data sets or reports and any other outputs. But we will see that in the second part.
So we can say that this, regarding data, it's more free or more open, the way that you can.
It should be more open, because it says traditionally science is open. If it's not open, so it cannot. The advance of science you cannot do without.
I was saying that the path. So for documents, the path is already done. So you put it there inside GUI, and then you put over nodos and nodo. But with data, we're just starting with those repositories. That's my point of view. So
Yeah, the problem with data is, well, until you start. So data are not under the copyright laws in general. So, but you can license the document where the data are. I mean, if I'm registering temperatures, that is not our original. So, but the original is if I prepare a model or a tool for simulation, climate, whatever. So this is the original part of the research. But those data, if I create a database with, I don't know, 10,000 data, because I have registered temperature everywhere, in Castellon, for instance, for 10 years. That's a lot of data. Imagine you finish because you get retired, but there is another guy or researcher that comes 5 years after, said, I'm going to register also these temperatures. And I have this data plus the other. So that means if I have registered for 10 years, and then I have again more data, so the model could be more rich. So whereas, I mean, the importance of data is that reuse of data, because that, and we will show you, there are new companies created by research data and also open data, I mean government open data. And it's very useful to, I mean, to be available to those data. Are you ready? So what this is. And we have very good examples for you, especially because we have selected part of the for citizen science, which people who participate in the welfare of the cities or locations and.
Okay, so now I will present some infrastructure services that we have available in OpenAir. You will understand the importance of OpenAir in this context, as Reme stated. OpenAir is implementing the open access mandate and supporting the open research data pilot of the Commission. So we have developed some services and tools to support different stakeholders and researchers and authors, of course. We are supporting, and I will highlight some tools and services that I think can be useful for you as researchers and also for the librarians here. So OpenAir is implementing all the EC requirements, but also supporting other funder requirements. We have already some international funding bodies in OpenAir from Australia, from the States, from Wellcome Trust, as we have also national funders. So we are supporting national open access policies that are in line with the EC open access requirements. So we are not only providing services to the Commission, we start providing services to the Commission, but we can also provide services for other funders.
And institutions too, no?
Yes, and institutions. So we start from a project, an FP7 project, as you have also here in this institute. We have two previous projects, OpenAir and OpenAir Plus, FP7 project, and now we have Horizon 2020 project, but we are the service for Horizon 2020 compliance. We are the service for the Commission, to help the Commission to monitor the compliance and to support the researchers, research managers, institutions to comply with the Horizon 2020 mandate. So the result of the two FP7 projects is that we built an infrastructure, and we have now services and tools to share and to present. So the project and the infrastructure is guided by the open access funder policies, mainly from the European Commission. So it's an infrastructure guided by policies, but it's an infrastructure that is that have a participatory approach in two ways. the electronic infrastructure is based on a network of repositories, on a network of data providers. So we aggregate content from different data providers, from different institutions, from different journals. So the idea was not to build in Brussels a system that can collect all the outcomes of the projects, the funded project, but the idea was to build a network of data providers. But we have also a human network that is very important to keep running the e-infrastructure. So we have a national open access desk in all EU member states. So we have also in Spain. We are in Portugal the national open access desk, the University of Minho, and we are the coordinators of the region South. So we divide this network in 4 regions, and Portugal coordinates the South region. In Spain is FECIT, is the national open access desk. And then the result of this e-infrastructure that aggregate content from different data providers is an integrated scientific information system where we collect publications, research data, organizations that come from the CORDIS system, the system from the Commission, or now also from other funders, different data providers, and then projects itself and authors. And we have this integrated scientific information system like a CRIS, a European CRIS. Trying to just before I present services and tools that I think it will be useful, just to understand from where these tools and services come. So we aggregate content from different data providers. We aggregate publications, research data, and open access journals and projects from funders. So at least these 4 things we have running very well in the infrastructure, and now we are starting collecting publications and data from CRIS systems and software repositories. So the idea is to aggregate different outputs, not only publications. We have already software, but only from our own repository, Zenodo. And then we do a set of process with this content. So we clean the metadata we receive. Of course, first we validate the data provider, and then we clean the metadata. We deduplicate. So we receive the same. We can receive the same publications from different data providers. We can receive the publications from your repository, your institutional repository, and also from one journal. And then we put only one record with 2 data sources. And this is very useful, this process of deduplication, because then we can enrich the record, the metadata of the record. Because if we have the information from the journal, and if we have the information from the repository, then we put all the information together, and we can enrich the record. And we also enrich by inference, by test mining. So we test mine the PDFs that we have available to infer links to projects. So usually the articles have acknowledgement section where you put the name of the project. So if this information is not provided in the record, the metadata record, we can infer by test mining, and we also infer references to other publications or links to data sets. I will show this in the tools that we have available. And with all this content that you don't need to know how it works, we provide services for different stakeholders. Okay, we provide services for researchers and for funders, for research administrators, so for research communities, different types of services based on this content. We have almost 4,000 million publications currently, so we have already very high number of open access publications to provide services for different stakeholders. So we have different stakeholders of this infrastructure, so of course data providers that provide the data and that we can also contribute. And then we have funders, researchers, and research administrators or research managers. I don't know how you call it in Spain. We have research offices. In Portugal, it's not usually to have a research office, but like we have project. I don't know, Estefania, if you are a project office or research manager or
I'm doing research.
a research / research manager.
Project assistant.
So we provide services, and I will show some for researchers and research managers. So in the infrastructure, you can share, deposit, and publish in open access. Link your publications or data to projects, or link publications to data sets. And of course we have a discovery tool, so like Google Scholar or like Scopus or Web of Science. We are also a discovery tool. And then of course we provide different support information about different policies, about open data pilot, about the Horizon 2020 open access policy. We have different materials. We gather all we want to gather all the outputs of the project in one place, so we can provide page per project where we can gather research data and publications in one single page, and you can use that information for reporting the outputs. So like just copy or embedding the code of that page to your website or to the Commission's report or to the national funder report. So how can OpenAIRE help to provide tools for researchers individually and to projects or to institutions? I will show some services. The first one is about support information, can be the last one, but I put this in the beginning of this. I will highlight 10, so we are in the number 1. So I will highlight some support information and training. We have mainly three areas of support information. We have a help desk system. So in the website openair.au, you have an help desk that you can ask questions, and we have different staff in OpenAIRE to answer your questions. Then we have also a set of FAQs, very useful to clarify some issues, or if, for example, the librarians don't use some FAQs that we have, you can reuse, translate, and provide to your researchers. Then we have different resources. We have guides on the policies. We have fact sheets, some explanations about copyright issues that are one of the main questions that we have in this area. And then we have some training workshops and webinars. So the first support information, very useful, but I think you can follow to define, for example, the way you will work in the project. Is this one? We have a guide about the Horizon 2020 policy. So it's like one page, one single page, trying to answer all questions. So if you use this to work with Nova de Lisboa, you and Munster, to try to define the process to deposit your publications, I think this is useful. And then we have also the same guide for the open data pilot. Then we have some fact sheets. I know that FECIT have already translated some to Spanish, not all I think, but at least the one for researchers and about the Open Data Pilot, I know that they have already translated. These are interesting because it's like 2 pages trying to explain all the issues here, so it's very easy to access all the content in the portal. And we have also a very useful resource that are the webinars. So we provide some webinars during the year about the policy, the publications policy and the open data policy. At least one webinar for each policy per semester. So we will do April, May, a webinar about the Horizon 2020 open data pilot and the Horizon 2020 open access policy. But
if we want, for instance, to run a seminar workshop, we should ask our point, I mean, our national point, or should we ask to the network?
You can ask the network, or you can ask directly to FECIT. FECIT have money to go to the institutions to present open air and to deliver this type of training. And all the webinars we organize, all the content, slides and recordings are available in this page, so you can just, if you want to check. The webinars are always very good because it's like half an hour explaining things, so it's easy to, we can still working and listening the recording, and it's very useful. So we organized a lot last year with lots of participants. It was really, and it's really helpful to have this type of support events for the researchers and different stakeholders. And we also have we organized workshops during the project, the Open Air Plus project, last one, and now with Open Air 2020 we will organize 5 workshops, and all the content, all the recordings are available in this page. So if you can check some testimony of a researcher about research data sharing or other issues, so it's very useful. You can check. We have the last one was in Ghent last November, so all the recordings are available in our Vimeo channel. We have a very good presentation from a University of Ghent researcher about open science, so I think it's inspiring, so you can check also. So and we have the FAQs I've already told, and the help desk where you can put your question and just clarify questions that you have, adapt about the policy, and we have all the national contact points in different countries, at least 1-2 persons per country, to support the implementation of the policy. So the second service or tools that I want to highlight is about where to deposit. So all the open access funding policies requires a deposit in a repository. You can have your publication in an open access journal, but you need to comply with Horizon 2020. You need to deposit in a repository where we can aggregate the content, collect, organize it. It's why we need to do that. So where to deposit? You can do it in an institutional repository. You have one repository. I found some yesterday I did some searchings about using some of the names of the researchers in your unit, and I found some publications available in open air and not deposited in your institutional repository. I can show 1 or 2, but it's natural because you publish in journals and then you don't have it's not your daily workflow to deposit your publication in the institutional repository, but you must start doing that. So institutional repositories, subject repositories, thematic subject repositories, or in Zenodo. And we have the open air is connected with two main directories of repositories. Open Door is the directory of publications repository, and Wiki Data is the data directory, the data repository directory. So we use these two directories to register the repositories in our infrastructure. They need to comply with some minimum technical specifications, but then they become open air compatible, and then you can use these repositories to deposit. So the idea is not to create problems to the researchers or to put your life hard. It's already hard to do lots of paper stuff and things like that. So the idea is to deposit it once, and with that deposit we collect the information, we provide services for the funders if they want to monitor, or to you as final users. So it's easy to find where to deposit. You can be informed in your institutions, or you can use Open Air portal to find. You have a specific place to locate your repository. You type the name of your institution, and you find your repository and link the repository. This is a demo. You go to the under participate menu. You type the name of the institution, and you can check if the repository is compliant or not, and so you can use it to this is a case of University of Ghent. Is a compliant repository. The information is here, and then you can use this information to start depositing in your institutional repository. And we have also a list where we have almost 700 data providers in Open Air, so a lot. And Spain is well represented here, as Portugal also. You can find that information. Here are your repository. Have already, I think, more than 15,000 publications in Open Air, in open access publications. Yes. And we have information from different projects. I don't know if these projects are from at least ERMS. ERMS is from.
This project belongs to the repository UJI.
No. These are projects that have publications in your repository. I don't know if all the projects are from your university.
Okay.
If your university is participating in this project, but at least you have publications that are outputs of these projects. Maybe one person is involved in that publications, but not via the project, but a co-author have a relation. So this is one of the good things to have a network of data providers, so we can collect.
But these publications are not in the UJI repository?
Yes, they are in the so from 15,000 publications, at least you have these publications as outputs of these projects. 12 from Trident. Trident is you are participating in Trident. I don't know. Trident is
GEO-C also is included with GEO-C, Hermes.
Yes, Hermes. Okay. Hermes is in
And GEO-C. We have already with person.
You remember that when we signed University Exam Agreement, there were 2 entries?
It's the question of only one entry for the organization, and this is the entry for the repository. Because different names, but we are trying to solve that.
Yeah.
But you only have one entry now. I have already merged those because we have a tool to merge organizations. So you only have one entry for your university. So all the projects are collected here. These are all the FP7 or Horizon 2020 projects that you have in your university. So we have a page for the organization and a page for data provider, and then we merge this. But I don't think you are putting in your metadata the information of the project. So these results come from test mining. So they come from inference, from the enrichment. So you need to. I can speak with the librarians later to find good ways to integrate in the workflow of deposit the list of projects, so it's easy to the researcher to identify the project and to put that information in the metadata. We have already that for all repositories in Portugal, so it's very easy. When you are depositing, you just type the number of the project or the acronym, and then you just have that information. So this is the service that the idea behind is deposit once. So we have different repositories compliant with OpenAIRE. You deposit in your institution repository or in the thematic repository. If you usually deposit in the thematic repository, you can do it and you will see your information all together. Of course, there are, for the compliance issues for funders, for me it's the same to deposit in the thematic repository or institutional repository. If I work in the library of your university, of course I want to have your publication in my repositories, because the reason to have in my repositories is behind of the funder mandate. So it's for preservation, to aggregate all the intellectual productions from your institution, etc., etc. So another service is the idea of acknowledge. So it's what I was talking. It's the commission requires, the commissions and the other funds require that you must acknowledge the project. You must put the name, the acronym, or the project ID. So we have that information in our infrastructure that the repositories can use it. And we have already, for example, in Zenodo, it's very easy. When you are depositing, you just type the name of the project and you just select. We have this working in all Portuguese repositories. This is the example of the University of Minho repository. This is the deposit workflow, so where you upload the publications, you put the title, the name of the authors, and then you just select, you just type the name of your project here, and then you just select the project. It's very easy, and we must do that in our repositories. So we have an API with all the projects that you can ask your IT department to put in your repository, and in all Spanish repositories. I want that. It's very easy. Another service. So when you publish or deposit in open access, make sure that you use OpenAIRE compliant repository. So deposit once. If you don't have a repository, you can use Zenodo, but if you didn't deposit, you have one more possibility to link your publication to a project. So we have a very useful service that is the claiming service. You can link research results. So it's very easy tool. Also under the participate menu, you can click in link research results, and you can easily link a publication to a project. So I suppose you have already publications in your in OpenAIRE that are outputs from projects that you have already participated. I suppose that they are in OpenAIRE not well identified, so you can just do that if you want using this claiming service. You identify the funder, you identify the project, and then you just search the publication. So, and the publications come from the open air information space. So all the publications that we have in open air, all the publications that have a DOA digital object identifier, or all publications that come also from ORCID. So it's very easy. So you search for the publications around the open air information space, not only deposit in the repositories, and then you select. It's very easy. I'm using here an example from a Portuguese University of Minho researcher, Nuno Souza. I'm using the profile in ORCID. So these are all the publications from that he have listed in ORCID, and then I just select and say that these 2 or 3 publications are outputs from this project and that are not yet registered as outputs of this project. So it's very easy to use. It's one of the very useful tools. Usually this tool is used when you need to deliver the report.
Yeah.
So you need to provide the report in 1 or 2 weeks, and then so you can claim the publications. You have the publications already in OpenAir, but they are not listed as an output of that project. So you can claim the publications, and then they will appear in the list of publications of that specific project that I will show right now. So this is another services is the most interesting for the project coordinator or for the research manager. Is a very easy way to aggregate all the outputs of a publication in a project landing page for each project that we have in OpenAir. So I'm showing here examples only from FP7 or Horizon 2020, but we have already projects from our national funder in Portugal that we did a pilot for FCT, and also for the Croatia funder, Ireland, Wellcome Trust. So it's very easy. So you search for the project and you have this is the landing page of this FP7 project on the health area, switch box, and these are 60 publications, and as an output of this project. So they are all aggregated here in this project page, and so easily you can export a list of publications. And this is also the moment that sometimes the project coordinator is surprised with the outputs of the project. Sometimes you are not aware of some publications. So this is very useful. You can export to copy a list of publications, or you can embed the. So we have a app box where you can download the report, view in HTML, or have a code to embed in your page, for example, in your website, for example, from your institute. There are different examples. These are projects, FP7 projects that have already the list of publications directly from OpenAir. And I had here the example of ERMS project. Only 3 publications, and I don't know if they come from you, maybe from other partners from this project. It's interesting. So I suppose you have more outputs, more publications. Maybe they are not deposited in your repository, or if they are deposited, the link to the project is not yet. So you can do it directly in OpenAir. You can check that. I don't know if it's the case. So you have the page of ERMS, you have the app box available, and you have the list of publications. Only 3. So this is the reporting, the claiming tool that I have already presented you. So it's very useful when you are when you need to collect the information for the reporting. You can just use the tools to claim. And also in the landing page, in the project landing page, you can search for where you can deposit or you can claim for the publication. And all that information we gather, we also provide services for the Commission. So in the CORDI's website, where are the information of all funded projects from the European Commission, in the page of each project you have a part for publications, and this information came from automatically from OpenAir. And this is the beta version. This is more for the coordinator or for those. This is not for the common researcher. This is the participants portal where the project coordinator or the research manager need to report. There will be a part of publications. Now the commissions only monitor in a manual way. So you just copy the publications to a PDF, to a document, and send to the Commission. Now they will have, this is the beta version, they will have a tab for publications, and the publications come automatically from OpenAir. So you can use to report the tool of OpenAir, or you can have manually one by one. So this is the information that the Commission provides, so where the OpenAir is listed here as the source of information. So one of the last services and tools that I want to highlight, of course, the discovery. With all this information, we can provide the services to where you can navigate and search for publications, for open access publications, and you can reuse not only publications but now also data. You have different tools, so you can search for publications, but we have already also research data that you can search, and of course you can search for projects, related projects to your area, and see what are the outputs of projects that you are interested. You can use OpenAir, and also organizations that are involved in similar projects, and you can check if they are involved in what are the projects that they are involved in, what are the outputs of that project. So I think this is also useful to at least start doing some networking. Okay, and the last one, so with all the process that we do in OpenAir, after all the content aggregation, we can provide other services as also statistics. So we are already providing this service for the Commission, but we can do it also for other funders, or you can have some minimum statistics per project. So in the landing page of the project, you have some graphs, some figures. We can provide some statistics. We want to have in the future like a dashboard for the funder, where the funder can have all the information. Now we only do that by request, and we did it for the Commission, of course, for the Commission evaluate the FP7 open access pilot. So this is the main tools that I want to highlight. Some of them may become useful during this presentation, other maybe in the future, but I suppose they are useful for you. in order also to understand that this infrastructure is not only about publication, is not only about open access mandates or funder mandates, but it's also a new research environment that we need to collect different types of outputs. So OpenAIRE wants to foster and facilitate the shift of the scholarly communication through making science open and reproducible, as Remy already stated about the arguments about in favor of open science, and also to have a collaborative and participatory approach. As we are doing, I think it's useful, so it's easy to create solutions. So it's good that you are, for example, thinking how to solve the way you will deposit the publications in your project. So I think OpenAIRE can also help you to find the best solution for that. Okay, I don't know if this is the moment to do a break. I have specific examples and specific information about data that we have already in OpenAIRE, but I think this is the moment to do a break.
We break not half an hour because,
Yeah.
as always, we are.
Yes, I think that we had a coffee break.
Outside, yeah.
Any questions? Or maybe we can discuss
Yes,
the coffee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.